happy Tuesday and welcome to the Tuesday Night Live show for August 29th, 2023. I'm Bob, your host. So let's talk about tonight's guest. We had him on back on March 21st, where he shared his successes and the model he used to serve his community with the Santa Shed concept project. Now, tonight, he joins us for round two. That's right, round two, to share how he has taken his whole backstory concept he uses in the Santa Shed to the next level. We get to hear all about how the background of his Santa story evolved and how he uses it in his Santa Shed visits. Stick around because his story can add value to your visits. The opening of tonight's show is brought to you by Sat Bob's Professional Technical Training School for Christmas Entertainers. The legend lives on. This is Tuesday Night Live. Hey, thank you for joining us tonight. This is episode 31, and we appreciate your support because the more we share, the better we all become. Each of you joining us either live or via replay warms the hearts of our TNL crew and family. We appreciate you very much. Moving on, let's give the clown a round of applause for all he does. Yep, that's right. He jumps through many hoops to bring us the things you need and many of the products that you use as a claw. Give it up for Spangle!
Hello, everybody. Hey, Bob, I got a question for you. Is this live or is this Memorex?
You know what? That's a good question. Maybe we should find out in the comment section.
Anybody in there?
That's what all the YouTubers say. Well, put it in the comment section. All right, so she loves it when you say hi to her, our producer, Angela Mack. So everyone, please go over to the comment box again and say hello and let her know you appreciate her for all she does for the show and the Santa community. You two want to be too cool for school? Well, check out fancyleaves.com for all the exclusive TNL swag. And we appreciate it.
There.
What happened?
How to do the video?
Yeah.
Oh,
She got lost.
here we go.
All right, Spangle, over to you for the trivia.
Okay, here we go. Hey, let's go. Whoops, I lost it. Now, where we go? Okay, here we go. Today, a study from December 18th, 2017 shows Michigan ranks blank among all states in the production of the real blank blank, supplying approximately blank blank to the national market each year, but average blank to blank years to mature. Okay, so let's do this again. A study on December 18th, 2017 shows Michigan ranks blank among all the states in the production of real blank blank, supplying approximately blank blank to the national market each year, but the average blank to blank years to mature. I felt like I was cussing or something. Blank blank. Blank.
Maybe we need a bleep button right there where the blanks are, right? Yeah. Well, I mean, again, a lot of blanks, but we've gone through so many trivia questions that we're kind of having to really get into some that are They're a little bit harder, a little bit more, involved. Again, you can find this on one side. If you ask the question right, it'll pop up, give you all the answers in one small paragraph on Google. So get busy, go over there and try it out, see what you can
What's
do.
Google?
And remember, this is for a chance to put your name in the hat for the drawing next year for School of Santa's 2024 in Branson, hosted by that man sitting right there. And,
With a lot of help
the
from
more,
that man right there.
yeah, and the more you win, the more chances you have. So it's worth trying for. That's a $459 value on that scholarship. 3.5 days, talk about it all the time. 2 in-house shows, 2 Branson theater shows, meals included.
Food, man. Look, check it out.
It's
Food.
all there. It's all there. It's a total package for sure.
Find this picture real quick. Whoa.
All right. So, I want to mention right here too that, if you're not watching us on your big screen, you're missing out, because you could be watching us on YouTube on your big screen at the Tuesday Night Live Show 1225. And if you have not yet and you're still with us, go over there and subscribe for us.
Look,
We
there's
could really
plenty
use
of food.
subscriptions. We need subscriptions really bad. The goal here is to get to 1,000. If we get to 1,000, YouTube will monetize us. Monetization means that they will start giving us a few cents per click. And, so that could go a long way to helping support the channel, as well as, Fancy Lee's creations with the swag that you buy. But anyway, if you can get over and put a subscribe on for us, we greatly appreciate it. We got a long way to go to get to 1,000. But if everyone shares, everyone talks it up, tell everybody about us. If you like what we're doing, tell a friend. If you don't like what we're doing, then don't say nothing. Just kidding. All right, let's do the exit video, and we'll come back here in just about 2 minutes and 30 seconds.
The first half of tonight's Tuesday Night Live show is brought to you by SchoolofSantas.com. Kick off your 2024 season with inspiration from the School of Santas, an annual premier educational opportunity where fun and education meet, and is held each year the third weekend in July in scenic Branson, Missouri. School of Santas prides itself in bringing in a variety of new instructors and presenters each year, which makes this school unique in the Christmas community. Offering quality education, training, and fun. This year, included in your tuition, for only $459, is 4 days of classes, Thursday through Sunday, and 4 fun nights of entertainment. 2 of these are in-house, along with 2 Branson theater shows, where the class can enjoy time out on the town. Also included is a 4x6 graduation photo with the keynote instructor, and a digital group photo. We kick off both nights with a parade, our annual School of Santa's tribute to Daisy May. All meals provided during class served in-house include a total of 4 dinners and 3 lunches. And breakfast is also included if staying at the host hotel. To close out the weekend, we have the Sunday graduation reception with Elvis entertaining on stage. We also have our expanded StuffForSanta.com mobile store in-house all weekend, along with other select premier vendors. Remember, School of Santa's Branson, Missouri is where fun and education meet. For more information, or to reserve your educational, fun vacation in Branson, contact Tanya Lay at 1-800-432-4202 or email Tanya at bransonticket.com. Hotel rooms are not included in the price. Reservations for your room at the American by Wyndham Branson and Conference Center can be made at the time of registration. Remember to contact Tanya at 1-800-432-4202 before it's too late. Now, back to tonight's show.
I didn't see the missing picture.
It's, you know what, I was just telling Angie when she started playing that I forgot to send her the new version.
Oh,
I got it finished. I got it finished. My fault again, man.
She's right there.
Well, in the green room, I'll show it to her. I promise next week we will get it on.
All right. Hey, our
Mr.
featured guest tonight lives in White Lake, Michigan, where he performs as Santa in a fun kind of way. In his Santa shed has been expeditious growth since its conception and is in its fifth year with hopes of having a banner year spreading the spirit of
Wait till you bring Loren in.
Santa from the heart while visiting with many children and families with success like this. Who knows? Maybe expansion of this Santa shed in the future. Please welcome back to the Tuesday Night Live Show, Santa Loren Jensen.
We're gonna bring Rex in too.
Yes, and Rex is coming in here too. Hello, Rex. Hi, Loren.
Hi, thank you very much.
Well,
Forgot about Rex.
yeah, Angie said she forgot about Rex. I said, no, get him in here, get him in here. Man, we're just messing up all over the place tonight. We're having fun at it, though. All right, so Rex, over to you, brother.
Well, it's always great to be on the show. But, Loren, I had such a great time sitting down and chatting with you in Gatlinburg and in Branson. And that's where I really first met you in person. I'd seen you on the show before and knew of you, but that's where I met you in person. And I'm going to tell you what, you and I got to talking about backstories and today's stories, and you started telling me some of yours. I don't think you told me all of it, but I was just so impressed with the imagination it took. And I asked you, I think there, where you pulled some of this from. And I asked you about some movies and some books I've read and things. And you said you hadn't seen or read any of them. So I'm going to get Angie Mack to go ahead and run that video from back in March about your Santa shed real quick to bring everybody back up to where we left off.
Did you have that queued up, Angie?
Let me see. I didn't know.
Yeah, again, my fault. I dropped the ball this week, guys.
Let me see if I still have it saved. Hold on just a minute. Y'all keep on talking for a minute.
Well, yeah, and Loren, we want to thank you for coming back again. We were excited to the first time you came by and told us all about the Santa shed and gave everyone, a new idea of how they can perform as Santa and be your own boss at the same time. And, you had such a great, well laid out plan. And as you mentioned before, Jeff McMullen and yourself had, went backwards and forth and talked it over. And of course, you both do the same type of visit, the private visit in your own little studio, I guess you would call it in a lot of ways. But, to hear the backstory that you tell the children and how you built all this, you had such a, like I said, such a good, well laid out plan to begin with. And it has really grown. We were really excited to see how much you had progressed from 1 to 2 to 3 years. And so, the sky's the future on this for sure. But cannot wait to see where you take it from there. You got that queued up yet, Angie?
No, I don't have it. I'm trying to look.
She's trying to find it. So
That's okay. I'm ready to take notes, guys. So, I'm
all
ready
right,
to take
I was going
notes.
to say we can move along here, and I'll go ahead and ask the first question here, and then when she gets that ready, we'll cue it up. You got something, Spangle?
No, I was just going to tell Loren he's dealing with the Three Stooges.
From back in March?
Yeah, March 21st.
Okay, which one of us is Curly?
I don't know.
Okay, there was 2 videos. Which one were they?
I don't. Just go ahead and play both of them if you want to. All right, she's going to go ahead and queue them up and play them. There was actually 2 of them. But that'll give everyone in the audience that didn't watch the first show a chance. Okay, she says there's only one. So a chance to, at least to see what the shed's all about. So here we go.
Yeah.
That's got to download it.
Oh, the cloud, the infamous cloud.
Usually
Yeah,
all
and
this
Rex
stuff gets blamed on
mentioning
the
clouds.
clown.
Rex mentioned clouds. Just to let everyone know, Rex is in the safe zone. He's not going to get no more than maybe a couple of outer bands coming from Adalia, I think is how they pronounce that. That's moving up into the western, actually the eastern Gulf, but the western side of Florida. And you're far enough to the west in the Panhandle that you're going to miss the worst of it. So just let
I'm
everyone
going to
know.
miss the worst of it. I'll just get some rain. The deal is, though, the home of all the T&L Merc, Fancy Lee Creations, We looked at the latest path, and the eye's going right over their house and shop, all the way over close to the east coast of Georgia.
So are you saying that there might be some Mother Nature helping with some expedited shipping?
Yes, there could be if you can grab it as it flies by.
Got it.
Yeah,
But she
exactly.
told me
Well,
she
you know,
just today
again,
got in the big order of vests and shirts and all from the Northern Lights outing. So,
Well, tell her to
Well,
put
that
my
was good.
size on top.
Ready.
okay, here we go. Finally, we're ready. All right, fantastic. It's so cool to see what you've taken and how you worked to build it and the process that you've went through. So I guess let's go ahead and get started right here, Loren. You have, I guess, for the lack of a better term, disclaimer that you want to share with everyone on your backstory. So, go ahead and spill that out for everyone.
Well, I'd really like to basically say that this is my backstory. I don't care if anybody uses it. I don't care if anybody uses parts of them or enhances any part of it. It's been a creation that has taken, well, now it's been probably 5 years for sure. And to get to the point where it is right now, it's still growing. But the people that I have, shall we say, leaned on for help, they have all agreed that this is the type of information that other Santas, Christmas performers need to have in their, at least in the back of their mind, to know that there's something other than, well, Johnny, what do you want for Christmas? I mean, we do that also, but the storylines that a lot of Santas use are very, they're the same. From Santa to Santa to Santa, a lot of the same kind of stuff comes up. Same questions, same answers, and so on and so forth. And I got to a point where I really had to, I wasn't comfortable with that anymore because I was pausing a lot in my presentation. And the reason I was pausing, and I realized that when I was still working at the mall, that I was doing this. So I knew something had to change. Is that when you go to the different schools and workshops, what you're doing is you're hearing all this information from all these different Santas. And they may target one situation, but what do you do with, whatever the situation is? Yeah. What you do is you get 10 different answers, you get 25 different questions. And what you're trying to do is you're trying to sort through these in your mind. And from the time you hear to the time you react, if it's not your answer, that timing, it's a physical thing. It's part of your hearing, because your hearing has to transmit it to nerves, and nerves into the brain. The brain says, oh, I got to find that. And it goes down and finds the right question and finds the right answer that you feel is going to be the best answer. And what you end up doing is pausing for half a second. Doesn't sound like much, but it's dead time. It's like on a program. You don't want dead time. When that child asks a question, you have to have an answer for them. And that's what I wanted. Now, I have a speech problem because I had amnesia that's a long story. It goes back many, many years. And it's all part of my character, because you'll hear I pause every once in a while. And I thought that was going to be a real headache for me. And as it turns out, I turn it into, it's not a Steve Gillum type of thing, but it's it's continuation of words. So anyway, I said, well, in order to make that stop, I've got to figure out how to do this myself. It's got to be my story. So I started looking around trying to figure out how to do that. And I never really had a class that taught you how to do that. They give you these questions, they give you these answers, but they don't teach you. They don't show you how to create that character, the character that we have. Now, all of our characters as Santas are basically the same. We got white beards and, we're heavy and, whatever. But the thing is, what sets you apart is your personality and how you project that personality. And that's really what I was working on, is how do I do that? I mean, what is being an engineer? You're very locked up in formulas and things. It's like this. And that's the way I thought Santa was. You have a question, a formula, you have an answer that you calculate. Well, anyway, what ended up happening, I was at Charles W. Howard for one of the schools up there. It was probably in 2018, and Lee Andrews was there. And we struck up a conversation, and he said, oh, I'm doing this thing this next summer. It's called the American Clown Academy 2. And he said, come on down. He says, we're only inviting like 10, 11, 12 Santas from around the country. Come on down. And I said, am I really ready for something like that? And he said, yeah, you are. He said, come on down. So I ended up going down there. And what happened, I was excited to go there because, number one, clowns have the same demographic that they perform to, that we perform to. And because of that, you have to develop a character that is going to have life, that is not going to be just, a painted face. And same thing with us. Because we have a beard doesn't mean we can be a Santa. So anyway, I was kind of excited to go down there to find out how clowns did what they did. And in going down there, I realized that the dedication that clowns have, and Santas do to a certain point, but clowns have a dedication to their character like nobody else, because they have to create that unique one character where we have a whole bunch of characters to rest on and draw from. But a clown has to develop his character. He's got to develop his face. He's got to develop his movements. He's got to develop everything that makes him unique. And it was like, oh my God, this is what exactly we have to do. I have to do. And I felt that I had to create a character that embodied that, even though I don't have that many years to do what they do, because a clown will spend 15 years developing a character. We don't necessarily have that much time. So how do we take all the information that we have from our life and from our history and from other Santas and blend it together to make a story that makes a certain amount of sense? So during that, I mean, it hit me so hard, it was unbelievable. And I realized then and there that I wasn't going to be a clown. That wasn't my purpose. But I wanted to create a character that was unique in its own right, so that it wasn't going to be like the Santa that's 6 miles away and doing the same thing you are at a home visit. I wanted mine to be different. So anyway, during that whole time, I talked with Lee and I talked with Leon McBride and Steve, and I met Jeff McMullen. That's where I first met him. And we sat and talked for probably 2.5 hours, one lunch, talking about this very idea, this very concept. And he's developed his clown character and his Santa character in that mold. Okay. Each one is unique. His Santa character, his clown character are totally different people. And they're totally different from who he is. And I drew on that. I've got I think he's a good friend in England. He runs the Christmas Imaginarium there. He has an imagination that is just absolutely immense. And the work he does is just unbelievable. And if you have an opportunity, you should look up the Christmas Imaginarium it's actually in Ryde, Isle of Wight in the UK, off the south coast. And I'm planning on going visiting him this next spring. But anyway, he's worth the time. He is Santa's chronologer. He writes Santa's history. He's been allowed to do that by Santa, number one, and by the elven elders, the elven masters that control all the elves of the world. And so I started listening to this and watching this and saying, well, where does this fit in with me? I mean, that's not the traditional Santa that you see here. And as I got into it, I started asking him questions and so on. And just, we struck up an interesting relationship. Anyway, I started looking back on myself. And this was when I was starting the shed. It was all the same, happened to be at the same time. So in looking for this unique character, I went back into my family history. And ever since I was a little boy, little tiny squirt, my mom says, you are a Viking. You are a Viking. You are a Viking. You're nothing but a Viking. And it's like, okay, I'm a Viking. And I was the first one to have a sailboat in my little town I lived in and all that kind of stuff. And what that did is it sent me in a direction that allowed me to build my backstory, because I have several layers to this backstory. I have one of when I was a little boy, where we came from, where we moved to because of environmental problems and what have you. And then there's another whole segment of this, which is on the elves. And then the two lines come together at the North Pole. And that's kind of what I think I was talking with you, Rex, a little bit about some of that.
It was, and let's give folks a little taste of some of that backstory. You talk about the Council of Elves. Well, why don't you tell us all and the folks watching tonight how you got your name, Santa Claus?
Oh, well, that's a question that I ask Santas whenever I go to a workshop. You're sitting down around a table and said, "Where'd your name Santa Claus come from?" Oh, it came from the Netherlands. It came from New Amsterdam. It came from Germany. It came from, wherever. And I said, "Really? But where did the name come from?" I said, "You're looking at St. Nicholas. You're looking at this. You're looking at that. And St. Nicholas is dead. And so I don't accept the St. Nicholas story as most Santas accept it. I accept it as being a man who had a gift for anonymous giving, and he gave away everything, but he gave it away anonymously so that people didn't have to say thank you, because that can be embarrassing for some people. So I heard about this when I was a little boy. The caravans would come through Ribe, Denmark, which was Scania at that time. But they came through there and they would tell the stories about this guy. And he wasn't saint this or saint that at that point. It was just this man that did this, his extensive fortune given away for nothing. And for no reward at all. So this always was in the back of my head. This really, it beat on me. I mean, it really did. And so every time that I would go out into the woods to do whatever and come back with some extra, maybe an extra squirrel or whatever, I'd give it away to one of the neighbors because we didn't want to have any more than we needed. And that was as a little boy. I mean, I was 10 years old when I left Ribe and moved to Trondheim. We were moved there by the chieftain that we had. It was the beginning. I was born in approximately 747 AD, which was just before the start of the Viking era. The Viking era, they basically say that it started in 793, which was when Lindisfarne Abbey was attacked by the Vikings. Well, at that time, I was already up in Trondheim, but all the Vikings were gathering in Ribe because that was where they were going to go out from. So anyway, they were running out of food. So they went and asked certain families that had successful farming going on in the Ribe area to move to Trondheim to start farming there so they could share their wealth with Ribe as trade back and forth. So we moved up there and we started a farm and we had just unbelievable luck with it. And eventually a girlfriend went from when I was a little kid, 10 years old. Their family moves up there also. We get married, and my name actually was Ragnar Nicholas Clausen, and her name was Hilda Rasmussen. And anyway, when she came up there, we kept together and got married, and her family and my family gave us a larger farm. I mean, we had a lot of hectares to take care of. But so we started working the farm, and we kept doing our martial arts training, which was, let me just grab this for a second if I may. See this? This is my axe that I had as a chieftain of of our little district. And this is the axe that I went on the Linda's Farm raid with. So I have that in my shed, and it's a reminder that that's not the way you want to live. You don't want to live going out and raiding and robbing people. So I was kind of on the edge of doing this, but I was already 40 some years old when they called. We were like a National Guard, and they called us and we went. I mean, it's just what you did. It was a nationalistic type thing. You know, when they call, you go. And all the men in our district got together and off we went. Well, what was left? Hilda had to keep taking care of the farm. And she got so good at it that, I mean, we raised carrots and celery and onions and strawberries and all different kinds of berries and things and apple trees. And I mean, we had an unbelievable farm. Anyway, that farm kept going while I was gone because there was no other thing you could do. Well, anyway, what ends up happening is we get to Linda's farm and we land our boats, and being chieftain, I'm the first one off the boat, just like the military today. Your leaders go first and everybody follows. Well, I jumped off the boat, hit a moss-covered rock and broke my leg. And there I laid in the surf until they all came back. And they picked me up and threw me in the bottom of the boat. And I never even got to go fighting or doing any of the things that anybody else did. I wasn't disappointed because I knew that wasn't really what I wanted to do. And while they couldn't fix my leg very well. They just didn't have the technology to do that. And so they braced it up as best they could. And it's quite a trip to come back. It took a couple, 3 days. And by that time, your bones start to knit and what have you. But I was sitting in the bottom of the boat, and I was carving animals like this. Like this. And I'd been carving these animals for quite a few years because we'd been delivering on the winter solstice, we'd been delivering toys like this and dolls and what have you. And we never saw a camel except when the traders and caravans came through. But, you know, where did I see a penguin? It came with one of the caravans, and there's your carved penguin. But these were things that we carved. And anyway, those were things that I was doing while I was doing that. And then when I got back, I ended up being the one that did all the carving work for the mastheads and the stern head of the boats. And I'd carve the dragons and what have you. And because we were still pagan. We weren't Christians at this time. Christianity.
You were going to say you were carving the Thanksgiving turkey.
Well, when we could get one, we would do that. But we basically, we survived. And when I got back, my leg didn't heal any better, and I was always on a crutch. But Hilda took care of the farm. She managed the farm, and she was not the right-hand man. She was the man. And she allowed me to do pretty much anything. One night, just to give you an idea, one night we had a dream together. I don't know if you've ever had with your wife, ever had a dream where when you woke up in the morning and said, Hilda, what did you dream last night? You were in my dream. And she said, well, you were in my dream too. What did you dream about? Well, we dreamed about we needed water on some of the back hectares in order to irrigate our crops. And I said, well, I had the same dream. And did the dream tell you that there was a rock out there that had a mark on it that we had to hit with a hammer, with a maul? And he said, yeah. I said, this never happens. Come on. You want to go do it? Sure, let's go do it. So it's an adventure. So we go on out there and take them all, hit the spot on the rock, and it was an artesian well underneath that rock. And that water ran for the next 45 years. It may still be running today. I don't know. I'm not sure. But it was one of these things that happened for a reason. You can call it fate, you can call it predestination, you can call it whatever you want. We thought it was just fate, that things happen that way. So anyway, as we developed this farm, what ended up happening is that we would share, we built root cellars and warehouses and all kinds of stuff to store the food in. And the food never ran out. If we built a wall one day and didn't finish it, the next day it was finished. If we put up all the potatoes for the year and people from around the district came to get potatoes because they needed them, we never ran out of potatoes. Whatever was taken out of our stores was replaced. But we have no idea where it came from. We never saw anybody. We never heard anybody. It just was there. And one day I was out in the woods and I was out looking for rabbits and squirrels and stuff. And 4 reindeer came. And they came, I mean, we hunted reindeer for food. But these 4 reindeer came up and it was just like a couple of little dogs. And I said, go away, go away, go away. And I started walking back and they followed me back. And so I finally named them Filbert and Gilbert and Charlie and Alex. And those are named my 4 reindeer. But what was really funny is we put them in a corral and every morning they'd be out of the corral. But we never knew how they got out. So we'd build the corral higher. And the next morning they'd be out. And then next morning we build it higher and they would still be out. Anyway, what we didn't even think about this stuff. It was just happening. And if we sat up all night watching to see what was happening, they would say, we have no idea. They wouldn't do anything. They would stay in the corral. But as soon as we were gone, then they would out of the corral. Anyway, those are my 4 reindeer. And those are the reindeer we used on the winter solstice to deliver all the toys and gifts. So when Christmas, it wasn't Christmas yet, it was still winter solstice. We got back to our longhouse, and on the porch was a reindeer skin all wrapped up with 2 wooden goblets inside of it with stoppers in them. And we said, what's this? There was a rune that had been written that said, please drink this. This will not hurt you. You will be fine. Don't worry about it. You just please do this. Nobody signed it, no nothing. So we had no idea what it was. So we ended up doing that, and we both fell asleep. And we woke up a couple of days later, and we both had the same dreams again. And when we woke up, all of our friends were standing around us. And what they were doing is they were saying, where have you been? We've been sleeping here. Well, I'm glad you're okay. We thought maybe something had happened to you. I get up from the table and I walk to the door. And I haven't walked since 793, which is when Linda's farm happened. And this was in this is around 820, in that range. And it's like, what happened? How did my leg get fixed? Well, again, not thinking anything about it, we end up doing whatever we could with our neighbors, and then our neighbors all leave, and we were sitting there talking about what had happened. And the next thing you know, there's a knock on the door, and there were 4 elves there. And we thought we'd been watched for many, 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 many years, because you get the feeling, you get the hair on the back of your neck starts to stand up when there's something not around. But anyway, the elves said, "Can we come in?" And they said, "Sure." So they come in, and they said, "We would like to take you on an adventure. Would you like to go on an adventure?" And they said, "Well, have you been watching us for a long time?" And they said, "Yeah, we have been, because we liked what we saw when you did what you did for the people in your district. And it goes all the way back to when you were a boy and you gave away the squirrel every once in a while. And that is the kind of person we've been looking for. We've been looking for that person since the Elven prophecy was put together by the Elven masters. And they wouldn't explain it. They said, "You'll learn about it. Just take it as it is. Do you want to come with us?" And I said, "No, I don't know. I'm 74 years old. What am I going to do? I mean, what can I do on an adventure?" And I looked at Hilda, and they said, "What do you think?" She said, "We're going. And behind every man, there's a better woman." And so we took off with our reindeer and with the elves, and we tromped through the tundra and everything else to get to where they were taking us. We had no idea where we were going. But in my travels, there were these rocks, boulders actually, that had been faced off and smoothed out, and there were glyphs on it. There were pictures and things on them, and there were trees that had been cut flat on one face with different organized glyphs on them. And both of these were the same, but they weren't in the same area. So we never figured out what they were. And so the elves, we got to a tree finally, and they said, "Okay, no, we're going to go on our journey." And the first 2 elves go up, and they go through the buttons. And these were actually buttons, by the way, a sequence. And they were gone. Then it was my turn, and I was gone. And then Hilda came, she was gone. And then the 2 elves followed, and they were there. And we ended up outside the walls of the North Pole. And that was how we got to the North Pole. And we were, what are we doing here? I mean, nobody had said anything about what we were being asked to do. So anyway, we end up finally we get inside. There are two huge, thick, blue ice walls at the North Pole. And these things are probably 20 feet wide at the bottom and probably 15, 16 feet tall, each of them. And there's about 100 yards between the first one and the second one, and some big, huge gates. And so we were finally led into the center part. And then from there, a whole group of elves. I mean, they came from everywhere. And they escorted us into the inner North Pole, and actually ended up being basically the town square. And while we were there, we couldn't understand these people. They were speaking a different language, completely different than we did, but they could speak our language, and we couldn't speak theirs. So finally, the 12 elven elders show up, and Tontatu, who is the lead elf, he's the one that explained to us what they wanted us to do, and that was to fulfill this prophecy that was stated many thousands of years ago. And the whole idea behind this philosophy is to bring the elves, which are the magical people, and humans back together again. Because if you take the other line of and I've learned all this by going to our Hall of Records. We've got written records that go back to creation, because the elves documented everything. When the Egyptian libraries were set up, when the library was set up at the Vatican, they came to us and asked us if we could help them with documents that they no longer had. And we said, well, depends on what they are. We may give them to you, we may not. So we tried to help. Anyway, they laid out this plan for the year, which is much more involved than what we're going to have time to talk to today. But basically, I had to learn how to operate the reindeer. And I tell you what, that is a trip and a half. And Hilda was going to go off with the elves and with Reno's the chief elf. Now, I don't have any elves that work for me. Bernard is an assistant. He does not work for me. He works for the elven elders. The elves work for the elven elders. Hilda and I work for the elven elders. So I don't have any elves. And so what we do, we cooperate together. So all the instructions for the elves come from the elven masters through Reno and get dispersed out to the elves. And my job was to learn how to operate reindeer. And I thought it was easy because the four we had were really, really good reindeer. But these 8 reindeer, my goodness, they were full of all kinds of good stuff. And they would actually, first couple of times that I ever got the sleigh off the ground. I mean, if you think about it, if you think about all the pictures that you see, people have seen us because the pictures they draw with the 8 reindeer and the sleigh, all you ever see are reins. You never see the reindeer attached to the sleigh. I don't know if you ever thought about that or not, but that's not the way you have a horse hitch. A horse hitch has a single tree and double tree and blah, 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 blah. And that's how you turn the front end of the sleigh. Well, you don't do that with this one. This is totally different. The reindeer are out there and you have to control them with the reins. And they hated me. They really did. They did all kinds of crazy stuff. They would drop me in the ocean once in a while. We'd be flying along. Next thing you know, they'd be flying upside down, and you'd fall out. That's how I got to the shed the first time. The airport wouldn't let us land because we're within 2 miles of the airport, so they wouldn't let the reindeer land. So they said, "Well, I asked them, how are you going to get me here?" And he said, "We're going to just drop you off." And I said, "Oh, okay, that sounds good." I figured they'd come down and slow down, and I'd jump out, and everything's fine. But they did an inversion, and they slowed down just for a second, and out of the sleigh I fell, hit the ground. We actually filled in the 2 spots where I landed, and we made koi ponds out of them. So, you make do with everything you have. Anyway, I finally learned how to operate those crazy reindeer. And so it took a year. It went from winter solstice to winter solstice. And so they got everything loaded up. And I got to remember, in the 820s, there weren't a lot of people in the world. There were a lot of people that were very pushy, very greedy, and so on and so forth, but there were not a lot of people. So what ended up happening is we made the first trip, and during that first trip, let me back up a little bit. Before we made the trip, the elven elders presented me with a sword, a big elven broadsword. And it's got jewels on it. I mean, the thing's gorgeous. The thing just shines. I mean, it's unbelievable. And they said, you will carry this wherever you go. You will carry it on your sleigh. You will not be away from it. It's your protection. And I said, I don't want to, I got rid of all that stuff. I don't need that. I don't believe in it. And he said, you need this because the Doklafar, which are the dark elves, see, now you got to go all the way back into creation, because when the elves split from the humans, some of the elves stayed with the humans. Some of them went off in another direction. And what they want to do is they want to eliminate all humans. They all want to eliminate Christmas. And they figure by eliminating Christmas and humans, the world will go back to the way it was when it was created, when everything was good, everything was in harmony, nothing was out of line, everything worked the way it was supposed to work. Humans showed up and it fell apart. So anyway, so they said you have to protect yourself from these Doklafar. Now, Doklafar is a tribe it's a conglomerate. It's like a gang, I guess you might say, of all different elves from different tribes. And there are 12 tribes of elves. And those elves have come from all over the place. They all dress in black. And they come to us every once in a while, and they want to become one of us, one of our elf on the shelves. Well, anyway, so I said, okay, I'll take it with me. And they had built a scabbard underneath the sleigh. But when the sleigh, I don't know if I can do it on screen, but it makes the S shape in front, behind the reindeer. It's underneath there. It's kept under there. And the other thing they did is they gave me two different suits. They gave me a green suit and they gave me a red suit. And it was made of special fabric that, for all intents and purposes, in today's language, if you talk about Star Wars or Star Trek or any of those, they're shapeshifter suits, which I didn't know at the time. You wear one of these, depending where you are, wear a red or a green. And if you get into a situation, don't worry about it. Just think your way through it, and the suit will carry you. So that was the other protection I had. And I did have to use it that first night. I had to use the sword also the first night.
I need to start wearing the suit more often before I can get through more things that happen in life every day.
Oh, yeah. But today world, yes. But anyway, I finally get back to the North Pole, and we have a big party. And we have that every year, that when I come back, either on Christmas Eve or on Christmas morning, depending on when I do finally get back. And we had a party then, and everybody got together. And we had a good time, and then the Elven Elders the next day asked if Hilda and I would come to their castle, and we said sure. We had no reason not to, so we went, and we ended up getting all the elves were there. I mean, there were just hundreds and hundreds of elves, and they basically asked us. This is the third time now that they'd asked us if we wanted to stay. And if we continue doing the work to try and fulfill the prophecy. And I said, I don't know, I'm 74 years old. What am I going to do? I mean, how much more can I do? And I turned around and I looked at Hilda, and she said, "We're staying. We're gonna be here. We're gonna do this. Don't worry. We'll take care of it." And so we were committed. And as it turns out, I'll tell you that in a little bit. But anyway, what they ended up doing, they congratulated us. They were very happy because the elves wanted us to stay. And what ended up happening was the elven elders gave each of us a ring. And that ring, as long as we wear that ring, we will have eternal life. And that, I have a ring that depicts that. It's not the kind of ring that most Santas wear, which is like a class ring type of thing. This is very different. It was custom designed by the elves. They found the stones that go into it, and and each part of it has a significance. It doesn't have S and C on it. It has the two runes for S and C in the Scandinavian ruins. And so we got these rings, and that gave us eternal life as long as we wear them, as long as we want them besides. And then they Tantatu turned around and said, "You need to have a new name." And I said, "I don't need a new name." He said, "Well, you need to have a title." And I said, "I don't need to have a title. I'm not that kind of a person. I once was a chieftain, but I am no longer, and I don't care to have a title." Tantatu said, "You will have a title. The elves decreed that you will have a title, and that title will be Santa." And I said, "Oh, so is that kind of like a duke or a chieftain or whatever?" And he's, "No, it's just it's a title. It's an honorary title that, you're not any better than anybody else. You just have a title," because they didn't want to call me Ragnar. Because that's a martial name. And
I think that's a good title to have, though,
Oh, well, I thought it was. I mean, after I thought about it more. And then he said you're going to need to have a second name also. And he said, you can pick whatever name you want. And I said, "Well, I don't know." And he said, "Here's what we will do. We will take your last name, which is Clausen, and we will take the last SEN off of it, and you will become Santa Claus." And that's how Santa Claus was created.
Yeah, I've got a couple people private messaging me wanting to know if what about a concept if they wanted to get into a Santa shed?
Oh, I'd be more than happy to help them.
Well, yeah,
Absolutely. Absolutely.
we're kind of curious
Well,
about that.
Lauren, you've mentioned this, and I know you mentioned it to me when we were talking, that your backstory has so many different components, like 75 components with subcomponents and different levels. How long did it take you to come up with this concept in this story? I mean, I think you said something a little earlier about 5 years, and it's still developing.
It's been a good 5 years. It started after 2018, and I can honestly say that I probably work on it every day. I mean, there's something that I add to it, and it just keeps growing as things happen, or I think of something. It's like my Noah story. I mean, when the elves that followed the humans after Adam and Eve ate the apple, and Cain and Abel. That's when the split basically happened at that point, the huge split. The elves that followed the humans, they knew what was going on. They knew. I mean, they were so in tune with nature that they knew exactly what was going on and how it was going to happen, what was going to happen, where they needed to be, and so on and so forth. I mean, they were unbelievably prepared. So when Noah was told to build an ark that was so many feet long and so many feet wide, he said, okay. And then when he got home, he said, well, I don't know how I'm going to do that because I'm not a carpenter. Well, the elves knew how. And the elves came. The elves came from all over the place. They brought the wood. They brought the animals because they knew how to husband the animals. And what they found out when they first started building the outer shell is that there weren't going to be any windows in it. So how do you light the interior to keep the animals quiet and be able to see and do things inside the ark that is totally dark? There was an ancient wood that actually glowed in the dark. And that wood, they found that wood. They went and harvested that wood, and they created lumber out of it and lined the inside of the ark with that wood so that there would be light, a soft, gentle light inside the ark to keep the animals quiet and to allow work to be done inside. And that was kind of, I thought that was really neat. Now, I learned all this going through the archives in the Hall of Records, learning about what the elves had been through for so many years. And as it turns out, as things would have it, we've moved the North Pole, what we call the North Pole today. We've moved it probably 4 times because people have been encroaching on our way of life for so long. And I consider myself an elf when I say we. But we've moved. We thought we had the perfect spot, and then people started moving in on us, so we had to move again. So we finally got to where people consider the North Pole to be. Unfortunately, the Elven elders set up what's called a forbidden list. And that forbidden list is that the number one thing is that no one in the elf community tells anyone where the North Pole is. There's a theoretical North Pole, but no one tells where the North Pole truly is because people have been to the North Pole, as we all know. And, planes and submarines and everything else have been there. Well, they never found us. So anyway, you can think about that a little bit.
So now I know why there's a magnetic North Pole and a true North Pole.
And there's,
I'm betting those elfin masters set up that magnetic North Pole to throw the rest of us off.
Well, there's a magical North Pole too that I can't tell you about. I mean, I wish I could. But I can't. Only 2 years ago was the first time that these stories that I'm telling you right now have ever been allowed out of the North Pole. There have only been 2. Now, you made the comment that I've not read the books or watched the movies and stuff like that. And that's not totally true, but I've watched some because the elves love to watch them. And it's entertainment for them. It's imagination. And they live on imagination. We have a place called the Imaginarium where all our engineers and woodworkers and glass blowers and all those kind of people live. But the thing that is most important is that the stories are great imagination. I mean, the producers and people that did a marvelous job on some of them. Some of them are terrible, but that's why when the children ask me, "Have you seen this movie?" I say, "No, I have not. To be honest with you, I really haven't really watched that movie." And I said, because they don't know what the North Pole is like, and they never will know what the North Pole is like, because the Alma Masters have decreed that Hilda and myself are the only two humans that will ever be at the North Pole until we decide to leave. So no other humans have ever been there. Whenever humans show up or get close, our Elven Guard go out like a National Guard. They go out and they make sure that they divert them somewhere else. We have got a cloaking system at the North Pole that, I mean, you can fly over it. I mean, you can fly at rooftop level and you will not see the North Pole. I mean, it's the engineering is absolutely. We've had wireless power since probably. The years run into each other after a while, but they had wireless power when I went to the North Pole the first time. They had already learned how to harness the Northern Lights for wireless power. It's a magnetic type power. Again, I can't tell you about it. We've been trying. I mean, we worked with Nikola Tesla, and he got really, really close. And then some people got really mad at him, and he ended up having to back off. So, sometimes geopolitical things get in the way. But
well, hey, Loren, you've given everybody a lot to think about for the first half of the show here. So let's take a short breather here for a moment and do our product announcement, and we'll come back on the other side with more of Loren's story.
Hello. Hello.
Hey! Will somebody get the kid a Happy Meal?
No, don't do that.
Wow, check this out. Hey, this is not our product announcement, but I just wanted to share this with you. This is way cool. Magnetic suction cup, really cool for your car. We got these for $140 in our store, but T&L people will let you get it for $90. Hey, anyways, product announcement. Here's what we're doing this week in the price. We have these silver badges. It's $12.25. North Pole, Naughty and Nice Inspector, really cool. Comes in a wallet. Put your ID right here. Hide all your money under here if you need to. Very cool. We got it in gold also. I really like the cutout $12.25. The trivia winner will get their choice. They just tell me what color. These sell for $75. We're gonna do them for $50, and we'll ship them free. So hey, let us know. All right, are we ready for trivia? No, we need to do a video, don't we?
Yeah.
Oh, hello there. Yes, of course, it's me, Santa Claus. Now, you may not believe this, but one of the questions I get asked the most is, well, not how do I do it all in one night? No, but where do I get all my things from? Yes, now, what am I talking about? Well, I'm talking about the finest things I have. My glorious gloves, all my knickknacks and trinkets and things. Yes, all the giveaways. Yes, for me to give to the children before the main event. Yes, if I see them in the streets, if they come and see me, I like to have something in my pocket I can treat them with. Yes, and there's one special place where I can find all these magical goods. And that is, of course, stuffforsanta.com. You should head there now and see what magical gifts you can find. Mrs. Claus, have you got my ice pad? Yes, log me on, I'm going to have a look. I shall see you there. Stuffforsanta.com. Merry Christmas.
All right, guys. According to a study that was done about 11 years ago in 2012 by the University of Illinois, in the United States, there are more than blank Christmas tree farms where blank Christmas trees are grown annually that employ approximately blank amount of people, full or part-time, in the Christmas tree industry. Okay, so according to a study in 2012 by the University of Illinois in the United States, there are more than blank Christmas tree farms where approximately blank Christmas trees are grown annually and that approximately employ blank amount of people for full or part-time work in this Christmas tree industry. Blank.
Not as many blanks, but a lot of approximates. Oh, all right, guys, work on that one. That one again, just put it in and you'll find the answers all in one paragraph there. All right, so moving on to the second half of tonight's program, let's continue our conversation with our guest, professional Santa Loren Jensen. Loren, you had mentioned in your first time on the show that you was slowly evolving the Santa Shed into a toy museum. What things have you added this year, and what are you looking to add in the future?
Well, this year, I'm changing my chair from a chair to a bench, which doesn't sound like much, but it's a more intimate environment where people can sit closer to you and they change their position so that they can see what's going on, and so parents can see what's going on also. That's one thing. I'm adding an antique collection of cookie cutters. Some of them are over 80 years old. Some of them are probably older than that because I think they came from my grandma. And so every year I try to have a theme. And this year it's going to be cookie cutters. And not the plastic ones and things like that. These are all old soldered. I mean, you probably could never sell them today because of what they're made out of. But a lot of people haven't seen the old cookie cutters. They've seen the plastic ones and stuff like that. I'm adding a train this year that will run overhead. I'm adding a sound system that will give me the ability to play a playlist of songs that's the length of the visit. And the last song in each playlist of the three, which are 20, 30, and 40 minutes, is the same song. So what it does, it tells me I've got to shut my mouth and help them get out the door because the visit's over with. And that is a problem, especially with me.
What is that song?
What's that song? Well, we're still playing with it, but I think it's going to be "We Wish You a Merry Christmas." That's what I'm thinking anyway, because you can get different versions of it. And depending on the music that you pick, I'm looking for non-royalty based type of music. Otherwise, every time you play the song, and I've got 500, 600, 650 visitor families, it means I'm going to be playing it 650 times whatever their rate is. And being who we are, somebody's going to check, because there are lawyers out there that do nothing but check that kind of stuff. Rex, you asked before about the components of this story, and there's to try and do it linearly, it's very difficult. And I don't know if you notice I switched back and forth a couple different times, but this story, that even though we probably spent 45 minutes talking about it, I don't know how long it was, but each part of that is a story that I can break down into an individual story. So it's not always one big story. I just wouldn't have time, and I'd be hoarse before the first week's out. But I can custom those to the people that are there. Like a 3 or 4-year-old isn't going to want to hear all that. They'll want to hear about the reindeer, how the reindeer dumped me on the snow, that type of thing. So you pick bits and pieces. Some families, older families, you can get them so enthralled with the story that it goes dead silent in the building. I mean, they're talking amongst themselves, and all of a sudden they hear something, and then they stop talking. But yeah, I try to manage that with the age of the group. Sometimes when the little kids we've gone through whatever we do with them, they'll go off and play with the toys, and their older brothers and sisters will sit down, and then we'll talk about some things. I have an elf hunt every year, every visitor that comes in. I have elf on the shelf hidden around the building, and I always have one Docklefer, which is a dark suited elf, and then the other ones. And this year I've got a miniature one that's only about that tall. About that tall. It's supposed to be the world's smallest elf on the shelf, and he'll be hidden somewhere. And so that takes up a little bit of time when they come in, and you can work stories around that, because they'll say, well, I had one lady come in last year and she said, please don't tell any stories about the Docklefer. Well, she said dark elves. And I found out why, because they had the great big argument at home about them, about the fact that they were trying to stop Christmas and blah, blah, blah. And so you got to be careful who you tell the stories to and how far you go with it, which is, that's what we do for a living. It's not that it's that different than any other business. I just have what I've created with this forbidden list is a means for me to, if I don't want to talk about something, I put it on the list. It's kind of an out for me. If I haven't got a completely developed story that I can share with them. But there a lot of things that happen in the shed happen because of something that I have located in the shed as an item, or as a display, or whatever you want to call it. It's like my little animals. This thing here. This is made out of wood. This is all made out of laser cut wood. And people are going to say, well, how'd you do that? Well, I'll tell you what, there's a story behind that. Leonardo da Vinci. This is a Da Vinci Code cylinder. Unfortunately, someone dropped it last year and didn't tell me, and and it fell apart. So I got to fix it. But there's a code on it, and I'm going to put a $50 bill inside of it. And if you crack the code, you can have it. And you got to come up with six letters.
See, Spangles is on his way to come up here and try to crack it right now.
I figured that. And then I've got another story about this. This is a horizontal hourglass. And this I do use because this is my naughty and nice. I don't know if you can see that or not, but I can't get it right. Yeah, something like that. Anyway, this is the nice side. This is the naughty side. You do something naughty, it goes from here to here. The sand goes here. And when you do something nice, it goes back the other way. And it's just a really simple, you don't need something this elaborate to do that with, but it's how we keep track of you. There's a computer in both ends. All we do is we go through and scan all the computers and we come up with our naughty and nice list. So it's not the traditional naughty and nice list. I don't have a naughty list. It's all nice. And we've got a Christmas spirit. This is our Christmas spirit. And it certainly should go up for me. And then it starts to boil. What you do is you get the family starting to do it. And some of the kids have cold hands and it doesn't go up as fast. It says, oh, I got more spirit than you got. And I mean, just something to keep things going.
The magic box with the $100 bill in it.
Oh, I like that.
But they can never figure out how to open it.
Oh, yeah. Then this is something new this year. Sorry about that. This is just nothing more than a big clothespin. And we've had a lot of trouble at the North Pole lately with climate change. As a matter of fact, I just got out of a meeting before the show. We have 12 counselors in the North Pole, and then we have the 12 elven elders. And Mrs. Claus and I are members of the council. And we've been talking for the last 1, 2, 3 years now. This will be the third year talking about what are we going to do if the ice cap keeps melting. And I mean, people are wondering, I mean, what's going to happen when our livelihood goes away? Where are we going to go? We've sent teams out to different parts of the world, and they all came back with their reports as to where we might go. And we've had the Elven Elders will actually make the final decision, but we're making recommendations. And one of the recommendations is to reactivate a dead volcano that's in the Arctic Ocean and have the elves do it in such a way that they can create lava tubes that we can use for toy manufacturing and for toy storage and all that kind of stuff, and food storage and what have you. And I mean, there's a whole lot more to that whole engineering side of it, because it may happen. You don't know. If it doesn't, we'll be very happy. But if it does, we have to have a plan. We can't wait. We have our own weather system, our weather department. And I don't know if you know what this is or not, but this is a weather glass. And it actually tells you what the weather is going to be based on these crystals that are in here. Sometimes they'll be flowing to the top, sometimes they'll be suspended, and each one has a different thing that's going on, that's causing it to happen. And what we do is we contact these people from all over the world, our elves, and they report back as to what their weather glass is doing, because we don't worry about the rest of the stupid weather people, because half the time they're wrong anyway. But so that's another thing we do. And then, of course, to get into my Viking stories, I've got my food bowl and drinking bowl. And people ask about that, and then this little thing. This is strange. This is technically it's a duodecahedron, and it's got 12 sides. It's got holes opposite each side, and they're all different sizes. And we've used it for a couple different things. One of them is to help get things to find out how tall something is at a distance from you, because there's a ratio between each of the holes. And so from an engineering point of view, if you know how tall an object is, you can figure out how far away it is. And then the other thing, what we normally use it for, is we make gloves out of it. It's very simple. You drop what you do is you drop a piece of yarn through, and you wrap it around, and then you just keep wrapping and twisting before you make a finger. Then you make another finger, you make another finger, you make another finger.
You had me worried there a little bit. I thought you were holding up a coronavirus.
No, this is actually an ancient Roman thing that I don't know how many they found in England and in the UK, but they've been finding these all over the Roman world, and we had these before the Romans ever had them. What can I say? I mean, it just.
You talked about the elves and these lava tubes coming up for 2023 and stuff. Well, let's ask you, what goals do you have yourself set up in your Santa business?
Oh my goodness.
2023.
Well, my biggest challenge, like I said before, is power, and I need to get the power situation straightened out. Last year, I told the kids, I said, we got a new game coming out. I'm not ignoring you, Spangle, but we got a game coming out, and the game is going to be a console game that you wear on your hand, and it doesn't take there's no cords to it. And what you're doing is you're projecting a hologram. Your game is a hologram out in front of you. And so no matter where you go, that game travels with you. And it's the whole key to it, though, is not having to plug it into power. That's the power of it. And it was amazing how many kids said, when are you going to do that? When is it coming out? And it says, well, we're working on it. We got a few problems, but we're working on it. The technology is there. I mean, in theory, it's there. But anyway.
So there's a group of you working on it. You're not going to call it the We, are you?
No.
No, okay.
No.
That name's taken,
Yeah.
Maybe you can call it the Us or something.
It'll be the Elf.
Well,
We're not sure yet, but it's something we're working on. Something else. In our travels, to answer your question, Spangle, I'm kind of skirting around it. I'm hoping I would love to add another building. And the reason I want to add another building is I would like to have some retail space. And because I found some suppliers that have some very, very unique Christmas stuff. And I think people would buy it if it was available. I'm also looking at a new piece of property. I like where I'm at. It's really nice. It's pretty. But in order to get what I need for retail space and a place to change clothes and what have you, and then go into the Santa room, that really is what I need. And I'm not sure I will do that because, at what point do you go into debt? And how deep do you go? I mean, and it costs money to do stuff like that. But the other thing we can do is we can always come up with pickles. I mean, we found pickles. We've been looking around for pickles, and we finally found some pickles that were really smart, believe it or not. And we found a pickle that the pickle learned to do that by listening to the Northern Lights, because the Northern Lights make sound.
I was going to say, don't let Jeff Dunham see that. He'll have jalapeno on a stick and pickle on a stick.
Yeah. What else?
Well, let me ask you another question, Loren.
Yeah, sure.
And I don't know that I've ever asked you this question before, but my discussions with you and how I just so enjoy your backstory. Have you ever thought about making it a novel, writing a book based on your backstory to publish?
Before you answer that, I want to tell you what Bob Churchwell has said. He said that your whole backstory is so tantalizing that he's a believer in Christianity, and this story parallels that faith.
I'm thinking if he wrote a novel, it would be thicker than the Harry Potter series.
Well, it would have to be, the way I see it, it would have to be a series. You know, it would be my Viking heritage, the heritage from the elves forward.
See, I'm seeing a whole series of movies too when you do this, all based on this. So, you know,
Well,
I
and
think
too,
it's
Rex, we knew coming into tonight that Lauren's backstory was 75 different components, so it was going to be so extensive that we probably wasn't going to be able to get through it all in one more show. So that's why we labeled this part 2. And he mentioned to me in our conversations that maybe he comes back for part 3 and finishes up, where he's leaving off tonight with. So,
well, there's, I mean, we don't have money at the North Pole. Now, this is going to sound really strange. And I know that Larry Talbert has a coin thing that he changes it into. Do you have it too, Spangle?
Yeah.
Where you change it into North Pole money. You know, take a $50 or whatever and change it into. We don't have money. We don't use money. When you talked about Michigan having so many Christmas trees and stuff, I'm not a fan of Michigan, to be honest with you, because last year what they did is they sold our sugar contracts. We have a very large sugar beet industry here, and they sold our contracts. And if you've ever seen 30,000 elves go into withdrawal, you've never seen anything. It was absolutely terrible. And they sold the contracts out from under us to other people that needed sugar. And we ended up scrambling. And we ended up getting our sugar from India, which was not what we wanted to do because the transportation through our Iron Reindeer, it's just much more difficult. But we haven't even talked about the Iron Reindeer or the snow pods or any of that stuff. The elves were surfing this year on our roads. That's how bad the climate change is. The roads, because being ice will melt sometimes quicker than snow, and it ended up having a layer of water on top of the ice. And the elves got a hold of wakeboards and all that kind of stuff. And they were tying ropes on the back of our snow pods, and they were water skiing and everything around the North Pole. And the biggest expense our budget was just shot this year. We have property all over the world. I don't know if you knew that or not, but we've got property that just we have property that we lease out because we do need money to do certain things. And one of the things is this year, which really screwed our last year and this year both, screwed our budgets up, is that we had to buy just hundreds and hundreds of gallons of suntan lotion and what's the stuff that keep people from burning, whatever that stuff is. And we never expected to ever have to do that because we've never had to do it before. So things are getting dicey, and it's a modern thing, but it's something that's actually happening. So, we haven't talked about the Olympics, the Alpha Olympics.
Well, let's go back to your shed for a minute. Do you only do events at your shed, or do you do events outside of your shed?
Do you mean on the porch?
Well, I meant like,
I'm kidding. I have done events on the porch, by the way, during COVID. I did have events on the porch. I also do several different churches. I do an Orthodox church that actually celebrates Christmas on Christmas, which is strange. But I do a couple other churches. I'm doing a cathedral in one of the upscale subdivisions this year, and or cities, I should say. And then I got a couple country clubs that I do on the side, but I don't know if I'm going to continue doing those or not. They take too much. They take too much away from the families. It's got nothing to do with making money or anything like that. If I can serve in the time that it takes to do a country club, which pays very, 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 very well, better than my shed. You don't get to spend time with the families. Whereas if at the shed, I may have another 4 or 5 or 6 families that I see that I'll have a wonderful time with. And
yeah, I felt the same way that a lot of events that we tend to do take the intimacy out of a visit with Santa.
Yeah. And that's why the traffic pattern that you'll have to develop in your trailer, Spangle, you'll have to, when you're designing it, the inside, design it for traffic flow, for how you want to move inside the space, because you can't just have them wandering around doing whatever. It has to be, and if you want to talk to somebody about how to do that very well, talk to Jeff. He's got his down to a science. I mean, it's really, really good.
Well, the good thing about mine is they won't really be able to wander around because we're only this big by this big.
No, but the problem is, in order to get pictures, you want people. Maybe you're going down the right side, and people are taking pictures from the left side to the right side, and then as they turn, if your chair's at the end, as they make the turn, the photographers move to the other side, and you walk them around back to the door they came in, and they're out of there. So, I mean, but talk to Jeff. He's the one that's really got that organized very well. I only have a single door, and I really can't. I'm not doing that.
I got 3 doors.
Yeah, you got 3 doors, right? But again, you need to think about that, how the people flow
right
in the building, and how big of a group do you want to have? You get 20 people in Jeff's unit, and it's wall-to-wall people. I mean, it really is. And one of the other things I'm going to do this year, hopefully, is I'm putting up closed circuit video cameras. I've got a server that will take feeds from all of them. And my hope is, one, is it for protection for me. You just have to do that. And 2, what I'm thinking about doing is, as an after event sale, and starting, say, in January, February, March, whatever, I put together videos for families that want them. And so you put in some B footage on front, some B footage on the back end, or C footage, whatever. And then in the middle is an edited visit with sound. And I'm thinking about doing that and making a CD out of it, or, whatever. And I'm hoping to be able to do that. It takes a lot of time with 4 cameras and trying to flop back and forth between them. But my son knows how to do the editing and stuff like that, and he'll be able to cue off the sound, and because the sound is a very distinct wave that you key off of, and each one will have the same wave pattern. So
That would be a great addition to what you're doing, though, Loren, for sure.
yeah, it
So
would.
we've got quite a few questions here that are coming up.
Okay.
Folks are wanting to ask some questions here. Judy's been chomping at the bit, but before we go to those, let's do our trivia answers real quick. Get those out of the way. We want to reveal tonight's trivia answers. SchoolofSantas.com study from December 18th, 2017 shows Michigan ranks 3rd among all states in the production of real Christmas trees, supplying approximately 3 million to the national market each year, but they average between 7 to 10 years to mature, and that's average. And our winner there, Angela?
Joe Steffen.
Joe Steffen. Joe wins that one. Joe's name goes into the hat for the drawing for School of Santa's 2024. Fantastic. Good job, Joe. Let's go ahead and grab the StuffForSanta.com. According to a study in 2012 by the University of Illinois in the United States, there are more than 15,000 farms, that's Christmas tree farms, where approximately 350 million trees grow. And they annually that approximately employs 100,000 people. So that was 15,000 farms, 350 million trees, and 100,000 people. And am I correct, AJ?
Yes, AJ.
AJ wins that one. All right, fantastic, AJ. Good job, man. Spangle's got you addressed, so we don't have to worry about all that. We get that in, get that out of the way. All right, so real quick, Loren, we're going to go to pick up some comments and questions that we had here that Angie's got starred. And let's go ahead and grab Judith first. Judith is worried about, did your 4 reindeer go on your adventure too? She had asked ask if the original 4 reindeer, since she didn't hear him say, went through the adventure through the tree with you. Can you explain that to Judy? That's Judy Broderick.
They actually flew to the North Pole and met us there. The speed that they fly at is just, is phenomenal. So they actually beat the last 2 elves, and they were bouncing around like crazy. But yeah, they got there. They have to land at a different part of the North Pole. It's quite close to my cottage now, but at one point everybody came in through the same place. Well, they just fly in, but they go into the stable area, and then we met afterwards. And those are the 4 reindeer that helped Mrs. Claus with her sleigh. And it's a marvelous thing. We've got so many sleighs. It's unbelievable how many we have. But my last sleigh, actually, the one I've got right now, as a matter of fact, was made from wood from the Ark. And that's why you can see it glowing at night. If you really look close, you can see it glowing as it goes through the sky.
It's a cool tie-in.
I've got one other comment that I'd like to make before I am getting old, but in creating this character, one of the things that I did, I didn't buy my suit until after I created my character, because I wanted my suit to represent who my character is and the style of character and the kinds of things. It's like my boots. I have 3 bells in each boot, and that's That is for St. Nicholas, basically, and 3 bags of gold. And then I've got eight buttons for the 8 reindeer. The 8 reindeer have always been called Dasher, Dancer, Prancer, Vixen, Comet, Cupid, Donner, Blitzen. But that is because in a team of horses, just like in deer, they have positions. Those are positions in the team. But there might be Snowflake, and there might be George, or there might be Henry, there might, the actual names of the reindeer, but they recognize the name that we give them. And Rudolph is never in the harness. He's never in the harness. If you listen to the music, it says, "Won't you guide my sleigh tonight?" Now, does that mean he's going to be in the front deer? He's such a small deer. He's quick, but he's small. So what he does is he flies to the next house that we have to go to. And then we fly to his nose. And then he flies to the next one, and then we fly to his nose again. And that's how he's guiding us. So,
I guess those landings can get kind of rough on them.
Yeah. But
So future Joe wants to know if you have a website.
I do. It's thesantashed.com. Now, I haven't put any of this information out there. This is just, like we've talked before, this started out as my Santa backstory. And, I didn't know if I wanted to publish it or not. I've had a lot of Santas ask me that, if I'm going to write a book about it. And I would just as soon hear the stories that other people come up with. And it is a story. I mean, but it's a story that's made up of snippets of bits and pieces of things.
Your story could help a lot of other Santas help build their stories.
I hope so. And I really had never thought of it that way until you guys invited me here, and I really appreciate that, because I want to be able to give back what I've gotten. And I can tell you there's one exercise that if you want to do it, I encourage you to contact Jeff McMullen, because he has an exercise that I went through one night over the internet. And you black out your room, you turn everything off, there's no music, no nothing around, and he said, no, just relax, just sit there and just kind of let yourself go. Now close your eyes. Now, from the bottom of your feet, from the soles of your feet that are touching the ground, what is on the bottom of your boots? What kind of boots do you have? Are they plastic? Are they covers? Are they brown? Are they clown type? What kind of decoration do you have on it? Do you have a ruffle of fur around the top of your boot? And basically what you do is you dress your character that way. You start from the bottom of your feet, and you work all the way up. What kind of buckle do you have on your belt? Is it brown? Is it below your cookie zone, or is it above your cookie zone, or is it at your cookie zone? Where is it? Do you wear suspenders? Do you wear a vest? What kind of vest do you have? What's the characteristics of your vest? All this kind of stuff, and you get to your hat. And what kind of decoration do you put on your hat? Do you have a long tail? I prefer a 22-inch, 27-inch tail on my hats, because that's where I have my radio to talk to the elves. It's in a pom-pom, and it's easy to grab, and it doesn't get in the way. And I mean, that's why I have that length of hat. But when I got finished doing this, I was worn out. I mean, I was absolutely fatigued. I mean, again, you have to internalize it and let the energy, go into what you're doing. But it's just a marvelous. Matter of fact, Rex, there's a guy in Biloxi, Mike. He's a young guy, reenactor. I don't know. I think you know him.
Oh, the Toys for Toys
Yes.
for Tots?
Yes.
Yes. Yeah. His last name jumps away from me right now, but he and I are friends. Yes.
I've got it down. But what's interesting is the last night of Branson, I talked to him until 2:30 in the morning. And I went through a lot of what we went through tonight. And because he was out, I mean, I want to buy a suit. I want to get a suit. I want to get a suit. And I said, well, slow down a little bit. And, think about it. What kind of Santa are you? You're not going to go out and get an embroidered suit right off the bat. What kind of Santa are you? And I think that's the biggest question in developing this story is what kind of a Santa am I? And I want to be that gentle. If there is a such thing as a gentle berserker, I don't know if there is or not, but but my whole lifestyle has been gentle like that, and it's hopefully it is presented in what I do. And what other questions do you have?
Well, I think that was most of the questions, but I see our buddy Randall Checker Lee's watching this, so let's give a shout out and tell him hello. And for the people that watch this frequently, you can catch him on the Monday night show with Bob and Randall. That's Mondays at 3 p.m. But also join us next week right here for the next episode of the Tuesday Night Live show at 7 p.m. Central, where our featured guest will be Diane Bean, a brand new Mrs. Claus just starting out, who, by the way, came to SOS this year.
She did, and she's so excited about being on the show. We're excited to have her. She and I had a chance to chat, out in the hallway there at Branson, and she is just like I mentioned yesterday on the Monday show, how much of a sponge right now she is. But it's going to be great because, Rex has encouraged us this season here at TNL to interview and get new folks and find out their perspective. And Diane's going to be a fun guest next week. So
I'm looking forward to that.
We're excited about that for sure. Yeah, and Loren, we got to go. My daughter's got to go pick up our granddaughter, so we're fixing to have to jump out of here. But it's been a great show, though, for sure. Well, Rex, over to you for North Pole Cornerstones announcements.
Yes, don't forget, February 2nd through the 4th, 2024, North Pole Cornerstones, the first ever event. We will hold it in San Antonio, Texas, at the Marriott Northwest. We've got a whole new innovative way to teach. We have listened. We've asked questions of people that have attended schools and those that haven't. We're putting together a whole new system. We're basing it on the same philosophies that our Cornerstones had. Lucky Royce, Santa Nana, and Santa Gordon Bailey. But it's all new curriculum, a whole new way to present it. We think it's going to be a blast. We've got some great vendors, including this guy right above me here, that are going to be there with his store. So you've got to mark your calendar, check our website out, npcornerstones.com. All the information and registration is there.
I just hope I get to drive my own truck home this time from Texas.
I'll loan you a team.
Don't put me in charge of gardening.
Hey, thank
Texas, live that down.
I want to thank you guys for letting me do this. This has been good for me also, and I really appreciate it.
And like I said going in earlier, we know that your backstory was extensive. Sitting down talking to you in Gatlinburg and in Branson, and hey, like I said, maybe we'll try to get you back early next year. This year's already full, but get you back next year and let you tell us a little bit more about your concept and your story and how everything goes from there. So anyway, you got any final closing thoughts, Spangle?
Man, forget your swag.
Oh no, we can't forget the swag, everybody. FancyLees.com. They got the hats. We've got t-shirts now. We've got the mugs. You see Bob with his big T&L mug there. Right?
Turn
We've
it
got
around a
all
little bit.
kinds
Oh, there you go,
Christmas
right
tree
there.
ornaments, license plates. I'll tell you what, if you can imagine it, Fancy Lees can create it on an item for you. But check them out,
They can.
FancyLees.com.
That is just
Hey,
too.
and the good thing about that mug, it don't have Rex's picture on it.
That would take
Well,
most of the day.
Yeah, well, we'll have to try to do better and make some new ones with everybody's mug on it. That would be fun, wouldn't it? Again, Loren, thank you so much, brother, for coming on and joining us. It's been a great show. You're such a great featured guest. Hey, like I said, we've had you on a couple of times already. We're going to have to schedule to come on again here soon. I want to give a big thank you to the schoolofsantas.com, stuffersanta.com, holidayphotomagic.com, thermapparel.com, and of course, fancylees.com. All of our shows are recorded. So if you want to go back and catch a past episode, you can do that either on YouTube at the Tuesday Night Live Show or on Facebook, either one. Go back and check out Loren's first time on the show. And, some of the other shows that we've had now going on the end of 3 seasons already. Can't believe it's been that quick already. Rex, you want to wish everyone a good night?
Well, I want to say good night to everyone. We appreciate you tuning in. And remember, our wish to you is may your milk always be cold and your cookies always be warm.
I love that. I love that. Tell everyone good night, Spangle.
Good night, Spangle.
All right, guys. Remember to watch us for our next Tuesday Night Live each week, 7 p.m. Central, 8 Eastern. That is. Same claws time, same claws channel. Count your blessings, not your sorrows. Have a blessed week. Until next time, on behalf of Loren, Spangle, Jessica, Rex, Melissa, Lynn, Randall, Angela, Scott, and myself, I'm Santa Bob McMaster saying good night. Remember, always let your claws heart shine bright. Never stop learning. And we hope to see you right back here next Tuesday. And hey, come visit us on Monday. We had a great show here, State News segment. If you didn't catch yesterday's show, you got to go watch it. It was super. Good night, all. Thank you, Loren.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, say good night to AJ, everybody.
Good night,
Good night,
AJ.
Santa AJ.
Hi, AJ.
AJ, it's past your bedtime.